Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. Here is the latest Boutique Hotel News webinar, and today we're going to be talking about why your next employee could be an AI agent. And yes, I know this title is very provocative. I have to stress this is very much about the human touch and supervision. This is definitely not AI replacing staff here. This is looking at the future and how AI agents will influence and impact hotel operations and bookings in the future. So my name's Eloise Hanson. I'm the editor of Boutique Hotel News, and we are an online trade publication covering boutique, lifestyle, luxury hotels and branded residences worldwide. And today's episode is being hosted in partnership with hospitality management system Agilysys, and we just have a short video to play for you this afternoon. And further details about Agilysys have been popped into the chat if you would like to learn more. So today's webinar will run for about an hour. We'll spend 45 minutes speaking with our experts today, followed by some time at the end to take any questions from the audience. So I would stress that if you do have any questions, please get these in early. You can use the Q&A function or the chat function at the bottom of your screens, and I will keep my eyes clocked on those so I can weave those in as and when relevant. Today's webinar is being recorded. Every attendee will receive the recording along with a written summary of the key discussion points. And should you have time at the end, a short survey will pop up on your screen as you leave the webinar. Any feedback would be truly appreciated. So here's some context, effectively shaping why are we here. And at brand level, we are seeing early moves from hotels integrating AI directly into both customer-facing and operational systems. So we have Accor, who's building a booking and payment capabilities into ChatGPT and investing in its loyalty program. And this is all in a move because the company anticipates a future where AI agents are choosing and booking hotels on a guest's behalf. Wyndham is also embracing AI across the guest journey and its operations, also launching a native ChatGPT app for conversational hotel bookings. And the company is also deploying AI agents internally to manage franchise brand standards, and so far has been able to cut review times from around 30 days to simply minutes. I believe that is 20 times faster through the deployment of AI agents. Now, I'm very aware that these are two very big chains, two big brands, but we have a lot of independent hotels and hotel groups on this webinar today. If you are experimenting with agentic AI, if you are in the early stages of trialing, testing, if you are looking to roll out something innovative, please share your ideas, share your what you're working on, share any opportunities that you see ahead in the chat. I'll be so keen and curious to hear what is happening at the independent level. So please don't be shy, do get involved. Now, moving on to the next slide, beyond brand activity, AI is also reshaping both the demand side and the economics of hotel operations. So according to Accenture, 87% of travelers are open to collaborating with AI agents. 71% expect them to influence at least half of travel spend within the next year. And 36% of loyal travelers would let an AI agent switch away from their preferred hotel or airline if a better fit is found. And analysts such as Colliers argue that hotels are reaching a margin ceiling driven by rising labour costs and taxation, but AI agents could materially shift profitability. So an example here is that a 150-room hotel could increase GOP, gross operating profit, by nearly 20% through revenue optimization and automation. And the company also found that while most hotels have tested AI, roughly 32% have only implemented it at scale. So that's why we're here. We are on the cusp of something very exciting, and we're here to learn more. So let's meet our experts today, and I'm going to ask each to introduce themselves very briefly. I'll move from left to right as per the PowerPoint slides. So I will kick off with Matthew. Over to you and welcome. Oh, pop yourself off mute, Matthew.
First ever time I've done that. Yeah, thank you for having me, Eloise. It's a pleasure to be here. Yes, my background, 30 years in the hospitality industry, ex-hotelier, operationally led, more on the food and beverage side, and then pretty much for the best part of 25 years working in the supply chain and in the technology side. So yeah, really pleased to be here today and looking forward to some good conversation.
Thanks, Matthew. Kate, over to you. Welcome.
Thank you, Eloise. Hi, everyone. I'm Xiong-Britton. I'm the Market Director of Accommodations in the Northern Europe at Trip.com Group. I'm based in London. I oversee hotel partnerships across the UK, Ireland, and the Nordics countries. My main focus is to drive the strategic growth of accommodation business across the region. Prior to joining Trip.com, I worked at the Langham Hotel sales and marketing for over 10 years. Great to meet you all.
Thank you, Kate. Stephan, over to you. Welcome. Oh, Stephan, I think you've popped yourself back on mute.
We try it again now. This is better.
There we go.
Thank you. So, General Manager of the Grand Hotel Huis Duin on the beach of Amsterdam, just outside Amsterdam. 255 rooms, leisure and MICE. So we're enjoying the Dutch summertime with the leisure market, but we move over in September again to MICE market. Proud member of Preferred Hotels and Resorts, also on the board and in several boards, both national but also international, like European Hotel Managers Associations. So looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Stephan. And Mitz, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much. So yeah, I'm Mitz. I've been at Soho House for coming up to a year, actually. Probably tomorrow, I think, is my 1 year anniversary. Prior to that, I was in casual dining, and prior to that, I was in health and hospitality. So kind of like that whole area, I guess. For those of you who don't know, Soho House operate. It's a private members club, and they operate across the world. And we have boutique hotels in the majority of our sites as well.
Super. And congratulations on being a year young at Soho House. So well done. All the LinkedIn profiles of our speakers are in the chat. Do connect with them all because we've got lots to get through. We'll do our best to get through it all today. But if we don't, please use the chat as a major resource. So let's kick off. And I highlighted in the context that AI and AI agents are starting to shape that traveler behavior when it comes to searching, to booking hotels. So I'm going to kick off with Kate, if I may. And I'm curious to hear at what point in that traveler journey is AI having the biggest impact? Is it that inspirational, the discovery phase? Is it the searching and comparison, or are we seeing it shift towards the actual transaction? What are you seeing?
Thanks, Eloise. I think I would say it's all about efficiency and confidence. Travelers have always actually know roughly where they want to go, and what often stops them from booking is actually uncertainty. So they have practical questions like, is this location convenient? What's the baggage policy? Do I need a visa, etc.? So in the past, finding those information, requires the customers to go to jumping around different websites, reviews, and the forums. But today, AI brings those answers together within seconds. So that makes planning across the whole process is much more efficient, but more importantly, gives travelers the confidence to make a decision. So confidence drives conversion. What we can clearly see from our own data, we have this AI assistant called Trip Genie, and we have seen the orders volume have actually grown over 400% YOY. And today, nearly 60% of our Trip Genie conversations actually directly related to booking decisions rather than general travel inquiries. So we can see it's definitely shifting more to the booking. So for me, AI isn't replacing the traveler's decision making. It's just removing the uncertainty that sits between planning and booking.
Thanks, Kate. And the term agentic AI or AI agent, I think, is still relatively new in our sector, in our particular market, with it being hotels. And I'm going to move on to Matthew here, because when some hoteliers may be a little apprehensive around AI and the use of AI and the deployment of it, let alone this new iteration that we're having around agentic AI. So what's the most common misconception that you hear, Matthew, from hoteliers when they first hear or encounter AI agents?
To be honest, I think there's still a level of confusion and misunderstanding. I mean, it's a great audience that we have here today from the boutique and the small hotel groups. And I think that's coupled with a sense of anxiety, nervousness in terms of how we should move forward. And I guess it's just that sense of unknown that the directors and owners of these hotels know that they must do something, but how do they move forward? And they're familiar with chatbots. Chatbots have been around for some time, and if we go back a number of years, everyone had to have a chatbot of some degree, which typically would just answer questions, be pretty static. But of course, with the AI agent, it became a little bit more interesting, a little bit more detailed in terms of how the AI agent would respond. And I was speaking to someone recently about, well, tell me all about AI. And I said, well, did anyone ever teach you to browse the internet? Well, no, not really. You just learned it. It just became something that you inherently knew how to approach. And I guess there are some truths there perhaps with AI as well. And I think with that in mind, the agent is going to do multiple tasks for you. It's going to drive those efficiency. Kate just even touched on the word efficiency, and we're probably going to hear about that as we go through. But yes, AI agents are here. They're here to help and assist. You said it at the start. They're not here to replace staff. They're here to complement and improve. And my advice to anyone that's listening is, embrace the technology, approach it in a methodical manner, because there is a lot of I speak to lots and lots of people, and there is definitely still a lot of uncertainty. I think at the higher level, with the examples you gave at the start, I think they're generally more understanding. But as you go down the chain to the smaller organizations, they're either running a legacy technology stack and uncertain which direction to take in, and maybe we'll come on to that later. But ultimately, it's not going to go away. It's there to help, enhance, benefit you. And my recommendation is embrace it, learn about it, read about it, start using it. It isn't just about booking a holiday itinerary and where you should go for a long weekend or making a picture. It's a lot more helpful than that. Yeah, just some initial thoughts.
Technology should absolutely be an enabler. In fact, you shouldn't even realize that it's working behind the scenes. I think that's probably the best use case of technology, when you don't actually realize what it's powering. And I think there's a lot happening back of house that I'm hoping we can get into today, rather than all the consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just about the guest experience, is it? It's about everyone benefiting. So
yeah. Mitz, I'd like to come to you next, please, because Matthew just touched on this idea that some hoteliers, there's maybe a lack of understanding or a misunderstanding around what AI or agentic AI is. And if I can give my own very basic evolution of where I've seen the industry move in the last 5 years, automation was all the rage. Then AI came along and helped power that automation. And now the next iteration is agentic AI. But on the surface, and again, this is very basic talk here. On the surface, agentic AI acts similarly or alike to automation, but it's far more than that. So for my own benefit, and I imagine some others in the audience, can you please give us a very plain language explanation as to what does separate the agentic side from automation tools?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think both Kate and Matthew touched on two really important things. What the first thing being that something like Trip Genie is exactly what people are looking for, that taking away that stress and nobody wants to start a holiday with a stressful kind of trying to work out where to go and all that mapping out stuff. And there's that's one very big part of the customer facing side of it. And then Matthew talked about suppliers and some of the kind of the technology being used in the background. I think AI in general for any business is particularly boutique hotels and the kind of those smaller businesses is going to be supplier led. It's going to be the supplier guiding you, because you don't know necessarily what you want. You know, people talk about it and it's a buzzword and they talk about it, but you don't necessarily know what you want or the direction you want to go in. And it's suppliers that will hold your hand and take you through it and say, look, we've got this new feature, we've got this new bolt on, that kind of thing. To answer your question, the big difference between the two is one has the capability, so the agentic side of it has the capability to think and to kind of respond and to be able to have a real life conversation, or to have to translate what you're talking into some sort of an action or a result. Whereas the automation is all about efficiency, and it's all about removing the bottlenecks from the business. So in almost in every department in our organization, there are bottlenecks, and people come and talk to me about things like processing invoices or doing this or doing that, and how do we use automation and how do we use AI to remove those bottlenecks and to make it more simpler. But yeah, essentially automation is about removing those repetitive tasks. I think you touched on it earlier. This isn't going to be replacing humans, right? You're still going to need humans to do things, but this is going to help humans, just in the same way that a car helps you get around.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mitz. Stephan, as someone who is experimenting with agentic AI, what was that realization? What was that light bulb moment when you decided that it was time to trial an AI agent within your hotel?
Well, basically, the moment that I confirmed to myself that indeed our systems were a bit like old-fashioned, and we felt okay with the fact that if you would call the hotel, and of course, due to the timing, everyone calls on the same time. So yes, you went to the loop system, press 1, press 2, etc., etc. And I always was a bit like, oh gosh, it's so old-fashioned. And then we got a demo from a company who challenged us. And first of all, okay, we had some doubts about it. And then he said, try this one. I built one for you. And I was knocked off my feet. And I was truly how you call it, overwhelmed by the opportunities. And now we are on the edge. So I have got, I guess, 1 week to go that our guests are pushing 1, 2, or 3. And then by the end of next week, probably Eva, our AI telephone operator, will open up the box and will guide our guests around the system. And the nice thing is now, if it's going to be working, the next phase will be there as well, because of course we are still depending on connectivity with other kind of systems, but this is basically now we're on the edge of the new era, and I look forward to it. And yes, there was some cold water, I call it afraidness, but we're getting there, and I think it will be a new golden era for the hospitality.
Good for you. And it's interesting that Mitz said that hoteliers will have their confidence or trust in the suppliers. It'll be the suppliers who will be leading or taking the hand of hoteliers. And it sounds like that was exactly the same situation that you found yourself in, with the supplier actually challenging your operations mindset, whatever it might be. And you said, you know what, let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. Mitz, just to bring you in here very quickly, what was your decision? What prompted the decision to also trial an AI agent within Soho House?
So ours was based on reducing kind of bottlenecks at the stage somebody calls up. So if you think of it, we're currently trialing in our restaurant areas, and then eventually moving it to the kind of more complex use case scenarios. So in Soho House, we're trialing something in the UK and something in the US. We'll then look at the potential to spread it across the houses and the hotels in the houses, and also the NED, which is our sister company, I guess you could call. Our requirement was quite simple. We wanted to make the customer journey more efficient and just a pleasant journey. And how we achieve that is by putting an AI agent in front of that kind of like that press 1, press 2, all of that. Remove all of that and make it very natural. Just call up and say, hi, I'd like to do this, and it just guides you through the process. Where we've trialed it in our restaurants, we've seen 70% of the questions that you would normally ask when you call up are being answered by AI agents. And the clever thing about those agents is that they learn. So if it's a question they've never been asked before, they'll learn from it. And then there's an exercise that the back of house team can do to kind of go, right, that was a question that was asked. It was diverted to a human because it couldn't answer that question. But next time round, what do we want to say to that person when they call? I mean, I've tested these systems myself, very much like Stephan has, and I wanted to really push the limits of what it can and cannot understand. So I went everything from, can I bring a guide dog in? Can I come in a little bit later? Can I change my booking? All the way through to, can I wear a clown suit? Can I come in a red nose? And just how clever it is to be able to understand the concept of something as random as a clown suit or a red nose, and to be able to then use it in a sentence to say, we don't think that's suitable attire for this particular restaurant, but wear what you feel is comfortable. It's just crazy mind blowing, right? And it's just going to get better and better, and it learns and learns and learns. And so our thing was primarily to free up the receptionist or the front of house person to be able to deal with the customers in front of them, and to be able to kind of take that bulk of questions away from the desk.
Thanks, Mitz. Coming back to Stephan, when you first raised the idea of deploying or rolling out an AI agent, particularly within the reservations team, how did they respond? And how did you handle that conversation around any uncertainty that they might have felt? Because we've touched on it multiple times already. This is not about AI replacing staff at all. It's actually, how do we make our staff more productive or efficient in their own roles? So, Stephan, how did that conversation go with your team?
Well, I'm happy to be surrounded with a lot of people in the end of the 20s. And being myself 59, it's talking about to a new generation. So happily, I'm talking to a generation which understands and it's just not threatened. And we had a mutual challenge, both the team and in my role as being responsible for the hotel, that we were looking to indeed the queue lines on the telephone. So we all found out that it was not primarily replacing people, but giving a better service to our guests by indeed an agent, which could help them much further. And by the meanwhile, like Mitz is saying, if we get the person live on telephone, we were able to help them directly or the people in front of them. So I'm Dutch, so we're pretty open-minded on a lot of cases, but we are open-minded on that as well. And I think there's a lot of embracement. And I speak to many people in hospitality, and I find a kind of genuine idea that we're all thinking like this could really help us. And the hospitality as a whole has a lot of challenges, but having the right people in place, etc., etc. We can't find the staff, blah, 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 blah. And for this now is that I see a lot of colleagues embracing AI as indeed a new colleagues. And I don't think there's a lot of threat around this topic. It's all about how can we improve our service and make sure that the real life conversation gets better and better and more attentive than it used to be. So I have a lot of open-mindedness, and not only on the front office staff reservation. In the hotel, we created what we call an AI work group. So we have several disciplines talking each month about what we see, what's happening, to make sure we're all singing from the same sheet and moving to the same direction, sharing their experiences. But there's a lot of, we're all very excited and we can't wait to implement the next thing.
Nice one. I look forward to seeing what's next with you, Stephan. So good luck with it all. Kate, coming to you next, please, because Stephan very lightly touched on this, that his team are relatively young and have a savviness about them when it comes to technology and AI already. But I'm curious to hear from your data what or how different traveller demographics are embracing AI.
I really like the question. I think as a global OTA, we obviously it's basically observing our customers' behavior. It's been the heart of what we do, and that's how we build our products and create a better booking experience. So when it comes to AI, one of the biggest differences we see isn't actually whether people use it; it's when they use it throughout the travel journey. So, for example, in the UK and Germany, we tend to see travelers tend to use AI much earlier when planning a trip. They're looking for reassurance before making decisions. At the same time, Italy, France, and Spain are seeing there's a bit more balanced mix between planning and also spontaneous travel. In Hong Kong, Singapore, and Malaysia, we actually see people tend to use a little bit later stage, and they are all looking for quite practical information before booking. Whereas we see actually South Korea and Taiwan seems to be very last minute before booking. And Japan planning behavior is more actually much closer to what we see across Europe. So despite all these differences, actually one thing they stay constantly the same is I think customers are all looking for the same thing, which is confidence. They simply seek that confidence at different moments of the journey. So which links back to the previous question, AI isn't valuable because it gives clever answers. It's actually valuable because it reduces uncertainty. So for hotels, the implication is straightforward. If your property information helps answer travelers' questions clearly, AI can build that confidence for you.
That's so fascinating. I'm so glad I wove that question in. So I was trying to take notes, but I know we've actually got someone working behind the scenes taking notes for me. So thanks so much for sharing that, Kate. And I'm sure hoteliers will try to, pivot their strategies to try and capture that too. Coming to Mitz and Stephan quickly from that on property experience. I know we briefly touched on the sort of guest facing operations and I would imagine reception teams as that first point of contact could benefit quite a lot from AI, but there's also a lot happening in the back of house. So what are those departments that stand to gain the most from the use of AI agents over the next year or so? Mitz, I'll come to you first and then we'll move to Stephan.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything you can think of, from housekeeping, for example, all the way through to the accounting teams and the CRM team that are then making sure that your visit was great and that you want to rebook again. Those kind of things. I don't think there's a single department in our organization that AI doesn't touch or hasn't touched so far. And even down to the kind of like the personal touch. We're very brand protective as a organization. One of the questions you mentioned earlier, Eloise, was around how we get AI into the business. Luckily, we have a CTO that's quite a visionary in this kind of stuff, and is kind of a key driver of this of AI in the business. But you're right. We have people in the business that kind of go, it's not right for us. We shouldn't be putting that in there. And it's convincing them that it's the right thing to do. It's convincing them how it will help them, and showing them things like end of days, like when you're, 1 o'clock in the morning, and your team are trying to perform an end of day routine or kind of account for what's gone on in the day. How do we make that easier so that they're not sat there for an hour trying to work things out at 1 o'clock in the morning?
And Stephan, where do you think AI agents could materially benefit your team across the hotel?
Well, I guess same like Mitz, it's the entire organization as a whole. And that's why we also started off with that working group once a month to make sure we keep each other informed about the opportunities we see, we meet, and there's a lot of things going on. And basically every department, PR, communications, accounting, housekeeping, name it, is experimenting on its own. Like I have department heads which are just trying and see what's happening. And I think the real big challenge now is to make sure we keep one line going, which benefits all, instead of that we lose and we are kind of, how you say it, like firework rockets shooting into the big sky. It looks beautiful, but at the end, 5 minutes later, it's all gone. You want to make sure you're building a rocket to get you out of the, how you call it, into the new world. And but it's basically everything. And sometimes I'm surprised as well. And I look to my own thing is that whether it's soft things like I'm writing my arrival cards. I used to go to Google. Now I go to AI and I ask specific things on, can you tell me what you can find on certain hobbies or gourmet of this and this VIP? And then you're able to really make it happen. So that's one thing. But on the other hand, we're using it also for the big things when we get our at the end of the month schedules on all the working hours, and we've been transferring people back and forth to the food and beverage department A to B to C. And now AI in 30 minutes gives me an example by with the everything done. So it's such a broad perspective, where my biggest advice is that you have to get some moments together with the key persons to make sure you won't lose yourself in all kind of activities. But it's basically name a department and you can have work for it.
Mm-hmm. We've had a question from the audience that I'll stick with Stephan for this one, and it's a concern around having the ability to adapt to modern technology, but what about entry-level jobs being replaced by AI agents, and how can AI agents play a role in preserving that human connection? And I'm asking you, Stephan, because you mentioned you've got quite a young team anyway. They're already open to new ideas. You also touched on being Dutch and lightly joked that we have quite an open mind anyway, which says something about mindset and culture. What are your thoughts here about whether our entry-level jobs at risk, or how can you embed AI culturally into your team to preserve that togetherness, to preserve that human connection?
Well, I'm a big believer that it will help humanity, and especially in hospitality as a whole. When you look to the entrance of the doors of hospitality. There are a lot of how you call it, not educated people who come in on a very low operational level. I think by changing our organizations, we are able to really pick them up and develop them on a much faster level as it used to be. And instead that we, well, let them do jobs which are at the end non-satisfying at all, because it's only repeating. It's not only we make assistants better, but we make our staff smarter as well. And from that point of view, we can develop them. And the real interesting challenge is that, of course, it's fun to work with young people. And I'm Dutch, so I am not hoping I'm offending anyone there as the participants. But everyone below 30 is not able to talk to a phone normally or to have normal guest conversation. That's a privilege still the older people nowadays have. And so it helps them as well, because you don't have those stressful people in front of you. And by having more time to have real human contact, we can also train our staff better in the human contact point of view. So for me, there aren't really any bad things about AI, because it will make our hospitality industry in several ways much more healthier than it used to be.
Just can I just say a couple of things, Eloise?
Yeah,
actually, one of the phrases we coin when we're talking to customers, of course, it is about your twin. You've got your staffing levels, but AI becomes your twin. All right, so you're doubling the effort, and because the agent is learning your ways and driving those efficiencies, you're doubling up on staff rather than just having the same headcount. And certainly where we've seen a lot of interest is in voice. I mean, I know some of you have spoken about telephony systems, but we have a fantastic web-based browser back end, drop and drag, and everything you'd expect. But the interest is coming actually when you're on the floor and being able to talk to your phone and having those configuration changes made there and then. So you're talking into your phone, and rather you actually physically going to a back office, which would perhaps be more of a legacy concept, actually just speak your wishes to your phone and allow those configuration changes to take place in the back office, whether that be something simple or whether that be a reporting need. Just speak your need into your phone, and the system will then action that and present to you, what you need. So, we're even seeing a lot of change now between people. I don't even have the 1 minute to go to a back office, log in and change a price. I'm just going to speak what I need to happen. And again, AI will address that for you. So yeah, just a couple of things really around, you're doubling up on staff, not losing staff is one concept to look at.
Staying with you, Matthew, for a moment here, do you think there is a ceiling around what can actually be realistically achieved or handled by an AI agent, or to use Stephan's analogy of shooting a rocket into space and everything's up for grabs?
No, I think we all want to shoot rockets into space at some point. I think we probably have to take a step back, and to ensure that we can shoot rockets into space, we've probably got to make sure that we've got the right foundations and platform to ignite that rocket and put it into space, if I can continue to use that analogy. And I think going back to perhaps the attendees that are on this call, one of the initiatives we took as an organization many years ago was to, again, fundamentally change a mindset. To change a mindset that had existed for decades in terms of how you procure product. And typically that would have meant I'd have bought, key systems like a POS system or an inventory system or a PMS system middle, and over time I would have bolted on the complementary products and glued them together. And at some point that would have delivered a positive outcome. But as we evolve through the generations and through the decades, why is it that this industry we love and have spent so much time in, must continue to follow that method? And we decided a long time ago now that no, that wasn't the right way, that perhaps these hotels that existed that, still used, if I can use another analogy, a DVD or a cassette player, when actually they should be, bringing their technology stack up. And what we decided to do was we just created a platform that existed outside of our industry in retail and leisure and entertainment but never did it really properly exist in the hospitality sector. And if you just have a platform, even if you want to pick certain segments of that platform and use them independently, but putting them all together on the same architecture allowed you to focus on AI as a whole, not across 15 different products that then you needed to have some sort of pyramid structure to bring all that data together. But you could do some really, really amazing things. And of course, in this day and age, without data, AI, doesn't thrive. But with data, you can do some really, really exciting things. And therefore, you're benefiting both the guest and of course the operator through having that one platform approach. And one of our key strengths is a profiling capability that we call the intelligent guest profile, which is a live roaming profile. And if I'm in the spa and have a nice massage and go to the restaurant, I can be greeted in the restaurant. Hi, Matthew, how was your massage today? Oh, and I see you have some allergens. And probably still in this day and age, the guest is going to look at you and go, wow, that's pretty impressive. But not only that, right? It's the sentiment, how AI and the agent can drive sentiment. Maybe I've had a bad experience in the spa, all right? Maybe that's been logged in the system. So actually, when I approach the restaurant and I sit down, that host, that restaurateur is immediately aware there's something that I need to attend to. And actually, before that guest leaves my property, I have an opportunity to do something about that, all right, before they leave, before they check out, and before TripAdvisor gets a negative reaction that they then have to address. So really, we've become successful in trying to change that mindset away from what's been happening for the last 30 years to actually something that's relatively straightforward in essence, but really, really powerful. So yes, we can launch a rocket and hopefully we can go to the moon as well.
Nice. Thanks, Matthew. I'm going to jump to Kate now because Matthew said something about reviews, both positive and negative. And as I understand, the way that AI agents work now is also, it's not just content that you have on your website, but it is also looking at the reviews that the guests leave, both positive and negative. So Kate, from your experience or what you've seen so far, what does a hotel listing truly need to look like when it comes to that content, the data quality, the imagery, and all the other bells and whistles to perform well when that AI agent is doing its sprawling crawl across the internet?
Thanks, Eloise. I think the short answer is actually just the better content, really. We all rely on AI more and more today. Whether we're planning a holiday, comparing products, or looking for recommendations, AI often gives us answers that feel incredibly intelligent. But it's worth remembering one important thing. AI can only work with the information we've given it. If a hotel description is incomplete, your room information is vague, or your policies aren't clear, AI can't magically fill in those gaps. So from a hotel's perspective, I would like to focus 4 areas. So first is complete and accurate property information that's kept up to date. High quality images that genuinely reflect the guest's experience. Detailed description of rooms, facilities, cancellation policies, family amenities. And the last is consistent and structuring information across every booking channel. And always remember to answer the guest's reviews promptly. We can't, no matter how hard we try, there's always some unhappy customers and people have their own opinions and being judging and they want to write things and then just always engage with them because these days AI has been so helpful translating no matter where your customers is from. So with all the above content, I think they give AI more resources and the reference when recommending your property. And if AI is getting more complete information, travelers are more likely to be confident and feel solid about the upcoming information and much easier to convert those bookings.
Thanks, Kate. I'm going to bring this back over to Mitz, if I may, because I think there's something to be said here around the way that AI can escalate or allow certain experiences to be pushed forward to the right person. And to my point Mitz, you said earlier that the difference between an AI agent and an automation tool is that AI agents can think. And to Matthew's point, they can bring a level of sentiment to a conversation. And with Soho House being such a members-led, high-touch experience, do you think that an AI agent could ever replicate the judgment, the conversation, the recommendations, the ability to escalate an experience should it be required, versus an experienced employee or a resident manager who might know that member personally? Like, where do you see the AI agent fitting within that particular model of a members club?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I'd love to say yes, it can, but in reality, it can't. And I don't envisage, certainly for in my lifetime, it happening. There is that personal touch, and we often talk about the hospitality gene that you have in you, or that personal touch that helps resolve those issues. AI can help with all of those things. It can support like a crutch would, right? So it can say, to Matthew's point earlier, I've had a bad experience in the spa. We can make sure that that information is kind of surfaced in the right area to turn that around, so that when the review that goes up that Kate was talking about is transformed in the moment, whilst the person is still emotional about the experience, and that's key. Whether it can do that itself, I don't think so, and I wouldn't want it to be honest with you. I think there is some limits to, not limits technically, but limits that we should put in place, guardrails that we should put in place to say this is where the remit of AI stops and this is where the remit of the human begins. We have a subset of customers that would want, and Stephan talks about working with kind of that younger generation of people. We have a subset of customers that are that younger generation of people and might not want the whole kind of, and we cater it. I always talk about giving the customer choice. So we give them the option to have one or the other. So, for example, we just opened Manchester House, and there's no phones in the hotel rooms. Everything you have to do is done via tech. That's quite a big, bold move for a hotel room, right? The tradition is you pick up a phone and speak to someone at reception, and we don't want to lose that kind of connection with the person that's staying with you guys. So yeah, I think there's limits to where it, and we have to put those rails in place. We do as operators.
I think AI is going to address the immediacy of dealing with those sensitive matters as well as the positive matters, right? It's not just all about handling complaints, but ultimately having that data in front of you presented in a meaningful way and alerted to you as an operator and working in a very busy environment that hospitality is, to decide what you want to do with that information there and then. And ultimately, if it's a complaint, you want to deal with it, you want to make it better, you want to make it right. Conversely, if it's a success story, you want to go over and obviously engage perhaps with that guest even more. But it's about being presented with that data and also acting on that data in a way that's going to definitely resolve matters in a timely manner.
And playing devil's advocate, we talk about data being really important for AI to be driven and to make the right decisions and to come out with the right outcomes. We also can talk about that information being there, that AI has surfaced, but if the human that picks that information up isn't capable of doing anything with that information, then it's a complete waste of time. So I use the example of, we are looking at ways in which we can know our members better. So when you check in or when you open a table, I want to be able to say to the waiter or waitress that's looking after you, here's a little bit of information on Eloise. This is the kind of food she likes. This is how much she spends on average. This is the last time she was in one of the houses, and it was this house. So to be able to strike up some conversations and to make that a personal, unique journey. But if the waiter or waitress looks at that and goes, do you have any allergies? And that's it. There's no point, right? So it's almost like a chicken and egg situation. You need the data there to be able to surface it. You need somebody skilled enough to be able to take that data and interpret it on the spot, because it's not, let me walk away from the table, let me get that information, let me come back and go, oh, by the way, it's not that. It needs to be there and then, and it needs to be in the moment. So
It doesn't need to be a
yeah.
moment. Yeah.
This leads quite nicely into around the current infrastructure and the existing infrastructure that's there currently that will allow hoteliers to start embedding this, but also maybe a question for Stephan around actually training your staff the right way to be able to act in the moment. So staying with Matthew for a moment here, two questions in one around what is the infrastructure gap that you are seeing with hotels at the moment, and what questions should hoteliers be asking of their tech partners to ensure that they are more AI agent ready?
Sure. I mean, one aspect I probably touched on to a certain level is that fragmented nature of technology that's evolved over time, and could be a long period of time. These fragmented technologies are written on different code bases. They're integrated into multiple systems in different ways. They are all owned by separate organizations that have different strategies in terms of their roadmap, their development. None of them are aligned, and probably the headache of IT personnel to keep everything under wraps and keep all those suppliers in check. Conversely, our customer base that have embraced a platform on a consistent code base with a consistent architecture, with a consistent UI that benefits training, whether you're in spa, whether you're in the room side, whether you're in the housekeeping side, just delivers one consistent, rich approach to how the modern hotel environment should look at protecting themselves for the next 10, 20, 30 years. It's really time to dispel the, we don't buy the same cars that we did 30 years ago and hope that they still, hold together. We progress. And again, our industry has been, to a certain extent, slow adopters in embracing new technology. And we have to do that. We have to protect the properties that we own and manage for the next few decades and years to come. And absolutely, that one platform approach that's benefited all industries throughout the world has to be shared with the hospitality industry. It generally does.
Thanks, Matthew. I've got a couple of questions that I want to ask Stephan and Mitz before we wrap up. Stephan, I'll come to you first, if I may. It's around measuring success. What are the metrics that you are looking at, that you are tracking to measure the success of your agentic AI initiatives? What does that look like for you?
I think it goes two ways. Quality-wise, of course, the feedback from our guests when Eva, the agent, starts doing her work. Do we see things happening? And of course, there are all kind of analytic reports behind the telephone operator. So that will first look to quality, because at the end, we want to raise the quality of the services. And the second big matrix, of course, will be also efficiency. Where will we gain time? Where we can, with that, lower the cost as well. And by that savings we're doing, how can we invest more to have the quality up and running again? So at the end, it's all driven by having more quality against a better return on investment we're doing at the moment. So it's as simple as it can be, and that's also my big advice. Try to keep it as simple as well, and because we're making things too difficult in life anyhow.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Mitz, a similar question to you, but this is more around the ROI of deployment. And a question has come in from the audience, which I'll read out because I think it's very good. How do you estimate the cost and effect on cash flow of taking on an AI agent? If agentic AI is not here to replace employees and nonetheless has a cost, but it does improve efficiency and margins, there needs to be a minimum increase in revenues to justify the additional cost. But without knowing the additional cost, how can you calculate the revenue threshold before committing to the cost?
Yeah, it's a tough one at the moment because for those of you who use AI, you buy tokens, and the tokens kind of equate to prompts or questions or things that happen using AI. And I've heard stories where somebody has put an Excel spreadsheet into a particular agent and it done some work on it over the weekend or something, and they're 10,000 tokens down. Um, it's a little bit of a finger in the air at the moment because it is difficult to really, unless you're looking at things like efficiency that Stephan talks about, it is really difficult to kind of map out what the cash flow saving might be or something along those lines. I think where this will eventually end up, I was talking to someone about this the other day at a round table, is that when mobile phones first started having internet on them, you bought bundles of data, and if you ran over your data, you found yourself with a massive bill, or if you went abroad or whatever. And where it eventually landed was it all became part and parcel of your contract. So you had unlimited data, unlimited, just use what you wanted to. I think that's where AI will eventually reach. So removing the fear of overspending on it, and removing the fear of using it incorrectly by not using the right prompts, or somebody who isn't tech savvy might just try something and not realize what they're asking for. I think that's, once you remove that, the kind of like the efficiencies and the cost becomes much clearer, because at the moment it is really difficult to understand how much it costs to do something in AI, in any AI agent. And you can't calculate that additional cost. The only thing you can do is educate people. You can put some guardrails in place, and we've had to do this with our business to make sure that people are being warned about what they're doing, and to be clear on what they're about to do before they take those steps. The way we've kind of like looked at this is we've just written we've written an AI policy, and we've created a pot of money which is our kind of budget for AI, and we literally are monitoring it on a monthly basis to see how much is being used and who's using it and what they're using it for, because that will give us a better idea as a business as to what the right licensing should be, and what the right costs will be associated to it.
Mm-hmm.
And also picking up on that, there's probably two further misconceptions. One is that people think it's free. And people still do today think because they've been using ChatGPT that there's no charge, and unfortunately there is, but obviously there's a benefit there as well, right? So it's important to in addition to that, have your own AI policy. Every organization should have its own AI policy. Mitz picks up on a very important aspect with guardrails. Whether we as a supplier, you as a property owner, you must have a policy in place. Do not share your data out onto the wider network. Otherwise it's there forever. Just like, uploading to the internet. Be very sensible in terms of how you adopt your policies within your business when it comes to AI.
Mm-hmm. I'm very aware of the time, so I'm going to give each of you somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds each to answer my final question. But that's if you had to give a piece of practical advice to any hotelier that's watching this webinar today, what would it be? I'll kick off with Kate. Short and sweet.
Yes, I think I just have one sentence to summarize. I think the idea, suggestions would be actually just audit your hotel listings as if you were an AI. So ask yourself the questions before, and also just checking as if you are the customer. So, we travel ourselves as well, just thinking like that rather than from your hotel side. That's from me.
Thanks, Kate. Stephan, what would your words of advice be?
Embrace it, as we are on the edge of the golden era of hospitality, and use the KISS principle. The KISS principle is keep it stupid and simple. They will go a long way.
I like it. Mitz?
Mine would be similar to Stephan, embrace the technology, but just be wary of it, especially for the kind of the smaller hotels that are on the call. Just be careful what you're putting into the free versions of these AI agents. And if you're not sure, seek some professional help on it.
Mm-hmm. And Matthew, final words.
Yeah, to do nothing's not an option. All right. Your competition is going to be ahead of you if you're not addressing this matter. Don't be afraid. It's there to help. But yeah, to do nothing is not an option.
Some strong words there, guys. Honestly, thank you so much. There's so many different avenues that we could have gone down. There's some questions from the audience that we haven't quite got round to answering, but we are going to keep this webinar open for a couple of minutes right at the end to allow our audience members time to follow up on any of the links that we've popped into the chat, including the LinkedIn profiles of our speakers. So do connect. Do ask your questions directly. I've just got some closing slides that I would like to run through before we say a final goodbye. My next webinar will be taking place next week. I'll be discussing the role of mixed use in brand and residence economics. Would love to see you there. The link to register will be popped into the chat. And if you're interested in working with us across either our digital events such as this or perhaps our in-person events, do get in touch with my colleague Katie. Her details are on your screen and they will also be popped into the chat. And a huge thank you to Agilysys for their support in today's episode. Matthew details are also on the screen and will be popped into the chat should you wish to get in touch and learn some more. So all that's left for me to do is to say thank you to Mitz, Kate, Matthew and Stephan. Really enjoyed today's conversation. Good luck with all your initiatives. I'll be watching with keen eyes from afar. Do let me know how I can support moving forwards. Thanks all for tuning in and I look forward to seeing you again this time next week. Cheers all.
Thank you very much.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye.
At IHM, we believe in the power of connection. We exist to inspire, to inform, and to unite decision makers who are shaping the future of hospitality and real estate. Our why is simple. We believe this industry thrives when people and ideas come together. And we're here to make that happen. So how do we do it? We publish 4 leading multimedia brands, each a trusted voice in its sector. We blend intelligent content, curated events, and a strong community into everything we do, making it easy, accessible, and genuinely useful. From online engagement to face-to-face connection, we're known for being insightful, collaborative, and refreshingly human. We host world-class events, panel discussions, podcasts, award ceremonies, and webinars designed to spark ideas, drive conversation, and create impact. With over 62,000 monthly web visitors, 55,000 email subscribers, and 69,000 social media connections. Our reach is deep and our community is active. We're partnered with the biggest names in hospitality, and we'd love to connect with you. So whether you're looking to grow your visibility, meet the right people, or understand where the market's heading, read, watch, listen, and me. Do it all with IHM.